All right, what do you know? Yet another commentary about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their desire to make money. Okay, maybe not their desire to make money, the money desires of a few select guys on the team. The reason we're making this video is because you had yourselves another TSN Overdrive segment from the other day where it was Hayes going out there and talking about the desires, just what this team and the players on top of this team really want. There is a post made on the Leafs subreddit by Aussie New York going over the ideas presented, and what I wanted to do was read it out here on the YouTube channel just to get some food for thought going, see some conversations happening about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I'll be completely transparent here. The time I'm recording this audio, it's July 21st, 6:14 p.m. PST, Friday. I don't know when this video is going to come out, but it'll be out soon, I guess. At the time of recording this audio, there has not been a contract extension granted to Auston Matthews or William Nylander, nor have there been any trades. The Leafs, for all intents and purposes, are just the Leafs, and this is what Brian Hayes goes out there and talks about on the Overdrive segment regarding this team. It is impossible for the Leafs to win when it's about business and not about winning. And so far, except for a few guys way down in the roster, it's been about business. You need it to be about both. Now, the other day, we made a video talking about Mitch Marner and his philosophy towards Toronto and how his buddies, Matthews and Nylander, are going to be treated as his buddies when it comes to the contract negotiation process. He's going to prioritize them as his friends rather than his teammates, sort of insinuating that he's going to vouch for these guys to get paid rather than for these guys to take team-friendly deals and help the team win. When this post was made on the R-Leaf subreddit, this is what Brian Hayes talked about. He talked about the culture that is now in the Leafs because the team has been architected with 4 players making 50% of the salary cap. Hayes said that these players have been about business, except for a few down in the roster, and not about winning. They compared, the folks on Overdrive that is, they compared a situation to Patrice Bergeron, whose agent wanted him to ask for $9.5 million a year 10 years ago from the Bruins, and Bergeron thought $6.5 million would help the team instead, and the settled contract was around $6.8. This inspired others on the team to take less to win, and they made it to the finals 3 times. Now, of course, the players getting paid, it's a two-way street. It's not just Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares asking for the money and getting it. It's the fact that they were able to get it in the first place. We already made a video earlier this month, I think, talking about how Kyle Dubas handcuffed the Maple Leafs into this sort of mold, where this is the standard, where things like this are happening because star players can just get whatever dollar amounts it is that they want. And now, this has come to bite them in the behind because a lot of these players have gotten used to this. This is now the status quo of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you compare it to situations in the past, I mean, great. Patrice Bergeron went out there and took a $3 million pay cut in order to help his hockey team win. And they did that. They won a lot. They got to the finals multiple times. They won once, although I'm not too sure if 2011 actually does count under the contract that they're talking about here. But they made the finals a few other times. Chicago versus St. Louis. They were pretty dominant, honestly. The Boston Bruins were. And part of that was because that was a standard set by that team, that, hey, guys can re-sign for cheaper because they're committed to the team. Sure, Patrice Bergeron getting $9.5 million is not going to be unfair value. The guy's probably the best defensive center the NHL has ever seen. But when it comes to how much this guy was willing to take off, you don't see that in Toronto. You saw that with Giordano, but that's about it. Other than guys down in the roster, the Toronto Maple Leafs top guys don't take any pay cuts, and that's what Brian Hayes is bringing up. It's a completely different status quo in Boston than it is in Toronto. Furthermore, onto the article, or not the article, the comments made here, it's obvious the Leafs losing is not about the coach or defense or bringing some extra player like Ryan O'Reilly or Foligno in. The issue is that for the key players, the culture is about business and not about winning. And so winning is impossible. And I don't necessarily know if Hayes is saying at the end here that the culture of prioritizing the money and prioritizing the business bleeds into the way these guys play out there on the ice. Oh, the Maple Leafs lack heart, they don't have that same commitment to winning. I don't know if Brian Hayes is really insinuating that if you're willing to take pay cuts, it means that you're going to play harder, but it is sort of a tie-in. You know, all these things bring themselves together with the mindset, the mentality that the players have on this team. And so far, because of the way Dubas handled these negotiations, you could debate that it hasn't been handled well. Sure, you got the guys under contract. We can, we will, we did it, whatever. But now this is the standard. Let's go out there and read some comments on this comment thread. The first comment here says that as a fan, I despise the salary cap. It brought no benefits to us except grow resentment to individual players. Despite the cap, though, games are more expensive than ever to attend. We got ads and helmets and jerseys, we got more ads on the ice and digital ad boards, and we can't watch games on demand with ease online. It's a mess. Now, this comment doesn't go out there and really address much of the issue that's brought up. It just kind of points its fingers at something else. But okay, fair point, fair point. The Deke says this: it's too late now. Precedent has been set, and they aren't magically going to take less. We just have to wait 2 more years for Tavares' contract to end. Nothing against him, that's just a huge amount off the books. And counterpoint to that, you have yourselves this reply saying that Matthews was the one who set the precedent for the Leafs and the whole league, to be honest, trying to make as much money as possible on short-term deals. He has an opportunity to change that culture with his next contract. Say what you want about John Tavares, but he was offered $13 million a year by the Sharks and the Islanders and chose to come here for 11. And that's part of why I'll sort of give Tavares the pass in this situation. We've always talked about Tavares and how he's able to face the media. He's the captain of the team. He's been in this role for a while now, and he's doing all this with a cheaper dollar amount than what he was offered to get in San Jose and the Islanders. It was always a big deal back in that time frame. Hey, the Sharks offered him this much. He would have been paid more than McDavid. But Tavares said no, and he decided to sign for fewer dollars with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So good for Johnny T for sacrificing some dollars. Sure, is he sacrificing as much as Patrice Bergeron did? No, but you could understand the differences there, right? Free agency, extensions. Another comment goes out here and says the same thing that we had talked about last time. The Leafs, and specifically Dubas, screwed up hard during the last round of negotiations with these guys. They got everything that they wanted. They avoided the 7 to 8 year commitments. They got massive front-loaded signing bonuses that didn't seem to gain anything for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the negotiations and were straight up just free money to them, despite the very player-friendly contracts. Draw a line in the sand and don't go past it. Maybe you lose a good player, but you maintain a certain culture, which helps you in all subsequent negotiations. Take a reasonable deal for both sides or don't be a Leaf. And obviously get high-quality assets back in a trade. Unfortunately, the Maple Leafs have waited until their no-move clause and no-trade clauses have kicked in, and their value is down as pending UFAs. And this is where we talk about some other precedents that have been set around the league in the past. I think most people will immediately think of Detroit, because back when everybody was a superstar on that team, you didn't see much of those guys going out there and tanking too much of the salary cap percentage, because there was a set dollar amount. Hey, nobody makes more than Lidstrom. That's it. We're not going to go over that. Now, I'm not going to say that Toronto has to have some sort of a similar system in place, but just thinking about how this team has been constructed, if Kyle Dubas was a little bit more hardball, like, let's say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when trying to get a lot of these guys to sign their contracts, then maybe you wouldn't be in this position. Maybe you'd lose out on a player or two. But maybe you make a trade that ends up giving you some assets that help you in other ways. Who really knows? So you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this entire negotiation thing where the Leafs players, it's more about business than it is about winning. They care more about the dollars than they do about the team-friendly deals. What are your thoughts on the perception of these players in this situation? How do you think these players feel? Do you think this attitude is correct? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, the Reddit post is going to be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read the rest of the comments yourself. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls99. And bye.